Once upon a time in the bustling city of Stockville, there lived a man named Bob, who fancied himself an investor. Now, Bob wasn't your typical investor, he was more of a dive-in headfirst and hope for the best. His motto was simple: I bought high, sold low, and cried consistently. You see, Bob had a unique talent for finding stocks that were at their peak, which he thought was a sign of greatness. One sunny afternoon, Bob decided to invest in a trendy tech company, Techy McTechface. The stock was skyrocketing, and Bob, with his limited knowledge, thought, this is it. I'm going to be rich. So, he bought in at an all-time high, convinced that he was the king of the world. Unfortunately, Bob had a knack for timing that could only be described as comedic. Just a week later, the company announced a new product that was, let's say, less than stellar. The stock plummeted faster than a lead balloon, and Bob found himself staring at his investment, weeping like a child who lost his favorite toy. Why, oh why, did I buy high, he lamented, making his neighbors think he was auditioning for a soap opera. But Bob wasn't one to give up easily. He dusted off his tears and thought, maybe I should sell now and cut my losses. So, he sold at the bottom, thinking it was the smart move, except that it was anything but. As the stock began to recover the very next day, Bob could be heard crying louder than ever, why did I sell low? His friends tried to console him, but Bob's tears were like a fountain of despair. At this rate, I should just invest in tissues, he joked, trying to lighten the mood. Determined not to let this setback defeat him, Bob dove back into the market with the enthusiasm of a kid in a candy store. This time, he found a promising startup called Bubbling Bubbles that specialized in fizzy water. He thought, everyone drinks water, this is a can't-miss opportunity. So, naturally, he bought high again, convinced that this time he was a financial genius. But as fate would have it, Bubbling Bubbles had a brief scandal involving a faulty carbonation machine. The stock tanked quicker than you could say carbonated catastrophe, and Bob was left clutching his wallet, crying once more. I should have known better, he moaned, as his friends rolled their eyes, wondering if he'd ever learn. Crying is my new investment strategy, Bob joked. It's more stable than my portfolio. His friends laughed, but deep down, they feared he was onto something. Then came the day Bob met Sally, a savvy investor who specialized in teaching people how to avoid Bob's mistakes. You need to buy low and sell high, she explained, shaking her head as Bob nodded enthusiastically. Of course. Why didn't I think of that, he replied, completely missing the irony. Sally decided to help Bob and offered him a crash course on investing. With every lesson, Bob learned something new, and by the end, he felt like a financial wizard, at least until he got home. The very next day, he saw a stock that was definitely going to soar, and, well, let's just say, he bought high again. His friends had given him a new nickname, Bob the Bubble, and it stuck. Each time he cried over his investments, they'd chant, "Bubbles will burst," to cheer him up. Despite the mocking, Bob remained undeterred. He had a dream: one day, he would buy low and sell high, if only for the sake of his dignity. But until then, he continued his cycle of buying high, selling low, and crying consistently. At least I'm consistent, he would laugh, wiping away his tears with a dollar bill. And so, Bob's adventures in investing became the stuff of legends, a humorous tale of highs, lows, and a lot of tears. In the end, Bob learned that while he might not be rich, he was definitely rich in experiences and laughter. And as he always said, if you can't laugh at your mistakes, you might as well cry.